Anyway, hello YouTubers. I had a neighbor stop over the other day, and he wanted me to melt some coins. He had some silver coins, and he didn't know what they were. They were slicks. They wasn't worth anything as far as a numismatic value, but they had a little bit of silver in them, 90% of course. And he wanted to make something for his wife. So we talked about this, that, and the other. He said he really wanted something unique, and I got thinking to myself, I haven't done a Cuttlebone casting in a long time, so I figured I'd make a video on the procedure on doing basically a basic Cuttlebone casting. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take these coins that he gave me, and I'm going to melt them into a blob of whatnot, so I can just kind of get a grasp of how much metal I've got. Being that these are only 90%, I also want to add some bullion, some 999 silver to it. That way I've got close to sterling as I can get. I mean, just rough. It's a rough it. I always like to over the silver content, and a little bit more than 925. So that's my first attempt, or my first goal, is to get the metal figured out, get it weighed out, figure out how much metal I've got, and if I have to add a little bit to it, he's a good neighbor, so I'll take care of him. And that's going to be step one. Cuttlebone casting. So a lot of you are probably wondering, what is a Cuttlebone? Well, it is, spin around here, see my bench. It is a fish, believe it or not. It's a bone. It's like the breastbone of a cuttlefish, which looks a lot like a kind of like an octopus, kind of funny looking fish, but it has this bone in it. And this was done many years ago. This was an ancient technique, I guess you'd say, for casting metals. And so with the Cuttlebone, go to the pet store, pick you up one of these. This is a Cuttlebone. It's in the bird section. It's for parrots, basically. It's a calcium supply for parrots. Try to get the biggest ones you can, and look down the edges of them. I'll show you here in a minute why. Because what's going to happen is we're going to take this Cuttlebone, I'm going to split it in half with a saw. So you want to try to find a thick one that doesn't have a whole lot of hard spots on it. And I cherry picked my convenience, or my pet section of my convenience store, and I was able to find 3 or 4 of these. They're only a couple bucks, so it's really not an expensive investment, but you only get one casting per Cuttlebone, so remember that it's a one-off deal. So do it right the first time, and you'll be very pleased with the result. So anyway, back to let me melt the metal. I want to melt the metal, figure out how much metal I've got, try to find a cross is what I want to build, a little religious cross. She'll like it, and I've got one somewhere in my piles here somewhere. I've got a cross that I want to cast in Cuttlebone. I've never done this one before, so we'll see how it turns out. And I'll be back. Okay, I've cast. I melted the coins down into a blob and let it cool it off in some water. And this is what I've come up with. This is how much silver the dude has to work with. And you could use mathematics and some kind of scientific method to weigh this out and figure out how much you got here in volume or whatnot. But I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to eyeball it like I've always done. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cast this into, this is going to be my raw material. I might want to add a little bit more to this, being that it's kind of thin. And I found the cross that I want to make. This is what I'm going to copy. This is just a little tiny thing. It's going to be really meaty. This is going to be heavy when it's done. It's going to look nice, I think. I think she'll really like it. So this is what I'm going to make in silver, using Cuttlebone. You're gonna like it. So let me add a little bit. I'm gonna add a little bit more silver to it before I do my pour, and that'll be that. So step 2. All right. I wanted to, before I get into any further more detail, I wanted to show you the volume of metal versus the volume that I'm going to need. It's always a good idea to go a little bit over, have more silver than void. Whenever this is done, it's going to be a hollow void, and you don't want to, being that it's Cuttlebone, you only get one try at it. and it takes there's a lot of preparation for 10 seconds of pour when you pour the metal. So you got to make it right and make it happen. And again, I need to add a little bit more metal to this to make this work out in my favor. You'll see. All right, the first thing we're going to do is I've taken the Cuttlebone out of the package, and I'm going to figure out about the right size. It's going to be about right there somewhere. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this top part off. I don't need all this Cuttlebone. Might be able to get 2 castings out of it, just for some other project. But I'm going to cut this in half. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this down the middle, and then I'm going to press this cross into the Cuttlebone, and it will leave a cavity. And then from there we'll do a little more magic, a little more adjustments, and it'll turn out pretty spectacular. You'll see. All right, I've just cut it in half, basically with nothing more than a coping saw, nothing spectacular, and now I'm going to split it down the middle. It's going to be fun. All right, I've got the 2 halves cut in half, coping saw, whatnot, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to press my cross into this part right here. I'll show you how it looks. Okay, what I've done is I have pressed this in using my leg. I just kind of, you want to try to support evenly on the Cuttlebone because it is brittle. And then what I've been doing is tapping it with a hammer. Just a little tap, 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 and slowly it'll work its way into the bone. I don't know if you can see that. It's hard to get a good, there we go. But that's what's happening. And you take your time. You got to do it really slow. And now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to dig this out with a X-Acto blade, or actually I'm going to use a dental tool, and I'm going to dig this out a little bit bigger, deeper, until I get it to the depth that I want. Now that I have a good pattern, then I'll finish it off, and then I'll make the top. Pretty cool. Okay, so what I've been doing is I've been digging this Cuttlebone out using this little edge of a roller. Works really well. It makes a nice crisp edge, and then periodically I will fit this cross into it, kind of give it a little push now and then, tap it with a hammer, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to finally work it down until it's flush. And once it's flush, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this little piece of Cuttlebone and I'm going to make a top for it. Then we're going to wire it all together real tight, and then I'm going to pour molten silver into it, and that's what we'll have in silver when we're done. Alright, I'm pretty happy with this. I'm going to stop here. I'm getting awful thin into the base part here. I really don't want it to burn through when I pour this. Now, the way I've been doing this is basically on my leg. I dig a little bit, and I tap a little bit while supporting it, you know, real nice under your, and then I got it pretty good. Just go ahead and dump him out. Okay. Now this is what we're going to have in sterling when we're done. But it's not over yet. This is the secret to Cuttlebone casting to make it look really nice. It'll give you like a wood grain texture. Is what I'm going to do. Set the phone down here. Is I'm going to use a brush. I like these little acid brushes. You see them at the hardware store all the time. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to dig, brush all this stuff out. There'll be a lot of loose dust. You can kind of see it coming up. Dig it out, blow it away, and now you can see the grain. This grain will be embossed on the actual casting. And whenever you see jewelry out there that's got this pattern on it, it's called Cuttlebone cast. Pretty cool, huh? But the more you dig it, the deeper they'll go, and the more pronounced the grain pattern will be. Now when this molten metal hits this, it's gonna really make a difference too, but that is the pattern that I'm looking for. inside that cross. Really nice. I need to get a little bit more down on here. But yes, this is going to be nice. If the mold holds together, this is going to be a nice little piece. Now, unfortunately, guys, I'm not going to be able to show you the torch. I don't have my camera person today. I'm on my own here doing this. She went to bed. And so I'm going to make the back side of this mold. I'm going to put it all, wire it all together, and then I'm going to pour it. It'll probably be poured off camera, and then I'll show you the results when it's done. That's about the best I can give you. I'm sure you know how to melt metal in a crucible. If you can't figure that out, then this isn't a project for you anyway. And I'll be back. Oh, one more thing I do need to do is, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to carve a sprue, basically a channel here, like so, for the metal to be poured into, so that whenever it's on its edge, it'll be a funnel. You'll see when I'm done here. Another thing I might decide to do is I might decide to pull. I think I'm going to do that anyway. I'm going to pull this off, pull this off, pull off all these hard corners. And there's a reason for this. This will give you a little bit of slag, a little bit of flash is what it's called, flash. It's extra metal, but this also gives crisp edges, because this will clean off. This isn't just a one-time. You're not just going to pour this cross and it's going to look beautiful. It doesn't work that way in casting. There's always cleanup, and I'm pretty happy with that. Again, this will give us a pronounced edge here, 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 here. All the little edges will be crisp, because I'll have to clean these manually, so I'll leave a fresh edge on it. Same thing with this one and this one. I'll leave that. In fact, you can do these Cuttlebones. You can just buy a Cuttlebone and just go to Town Cast or Diggin'. If you wanted to, you don't have to use a blank like I'm using, like this cross. You can go right into this Cuttlebone and carve like your initial. You can go deep, or you can carve anything you want. You're not limited by. The only limitation you have is your imagination. Actually, I think I'm just going to show you something. You'll like, yeah, say if you, of course you're going to have to do it in reverse. I'm not going to use this for the cast. I'm going to make another one. But yeah, it really carves really easy. Like if you wanted to do something with your initials on it, you could do something like this. Remember, metal is, it doesn't flow like water. It flows like honey. So you got to make sure you make your channels big, have a lot of room for your metal to go, and always plan on cleaning up extra. So make extra to clean up, like that, for example. See that? If you want to do your initials, of course, I would dig this a little deeper here, a little bit, smooth it out a little bit. But Cuttlebone has a whole lot of use. And you go a little deeper, and then if you wanted to, you could press. Like, say this is going to be a pendant, and this would be my initials. So what I would also do, of course, this is not reversed. This will come out just the way you see it. But what I would want to do here was I'd want to, I broke it. Anyway, say I wanted to hang it. X-Acto blade's the best. Say I wanted to make a loop here to hang. So try to think in 3 dimensions. What I would do is I would dig this out deep, so that the metal, I don't want to clear through it. Alright, forget that. So that it would make a loop, a place where you can hang, drill a hole through, and then you've got a place to hang it on a chain. That was the intent on that, but it didn't work out. So anyway, back to my cross. It's looking good. This is going to look nice. I'll be back. Alright, what I'm doing now is I am preparing the back side. You need a nice flat surface, piece of sandpaper, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this as flat as I can, because it has to butt up next to this, which I'm also going to make flat as I can. So basically, when you sandwich these two together, you have to have an airtight seal. Molten metal is very heavy. It'll find its way out if you don't do this correctly. Don't cut corners here. It'll cost you in the end. All this time you built that you've put in preparation for this one pour can be ruined by a poor seal here at this point. So, all right, I have my two flattened surfaces, and basically this will go on top of that. I've also cut an extra sprue hole, so now you can see what's happening here. This is going to be my funnel to pour my molten metal into. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sandwich this thing together really nice. I've got a little vise I think I'm going to use rather than use tie wire. If you have some little tiny spring-loaded C-clamps, I'd recommend something like that. You want to have a really good positive pressure on this thing. And pour molten metal in that hole, wait for it to dry or to solidify, and you are ready to go. And like I said, I don't have the facility to make a video of the actual pouring process, but I'm pretty sure you can figure it out. Basically, take silver, melt it, molten, make it really flow liquid. You really want to get it red hot, and then pour it into this. And it's going to leak. It could possibly leak. So when you do your pour, you want to try to put it like over top of something that can catch your silver. You don't want to do this over top of a wooden workbench like this. This is bad. Molten metal could come out of this, and it'll leak down onto your bench, and you could have a fire or your leg, or could do anything like that. But definitely want to have something underneath it to catch molten metal in case of an accident. Cool. And now I guess the next video will be the finished product, cleanup. Alright, here's my setup. I wired it together with just some of that cheap jeweler's wire or whatnot, and then I'm going to actually use this cast iron ingot mold to support it. And I'll put it in the C-clamp, and then it'll be ready to pour. Alright, there we have it. Ready to set up. I'm going to start the pour process. Okay, moment of truth. That's a good burn sign. It looks to me like it may have taken. We shall see. Let's see what we got here. Oh yeah. I think that looks pretty good. Maybe. I don't know what happened in the middle though. It sucks. Alright, is it all one piece? Well, I sure hope so. Not bad. Not bad at all. I think. We shall see. Let that baby cool down a little bit. I'll cut the sprue off of it, and see what we got. So anyway, here we have what I was looking for. Notice the finish, simulated wood. You can see where the Cuttlebone was brushed away and it's burned into it. Now it's just a matter of cleaning up the sprue and doing a little bit of TLC on it, and it'll be all done. Well, it's cast, and I've cleaned it up a little bit, and I've slightly pickled it, and what I'm going to do now is just put a little bail on it, and I think we're about done. Piece of cake, huh? And there you have it. Cuttlebone casting in sterling silver. Very rustic. That's what the look I was looking. That's what I was looking for. Started a bail on it, and I might put some patina on it. I might do a little bit of liver of sulfur and darken it up a little bit, make it look nice. That's probably what I'm going to wind up doing. So there it is. Pretty neat, huh? All from salvaged coins and an old Cuttlebone. Alright, now I've just coated it in liver of sulfur. This is what will give it black patina, kind of an oxidized look, and then I'll polish off the high spots so you really be able to see the Cuttlebone texture stick out. Working with this stuff is kind of like art. You just gotta kind of mess around with it until you figure out the right speed. Black is black. I mean, you can make all different shades of oxidization, but I like it black. You'll see, it's gonna look good.